Well, Jason, let's jump into wholesaling and virtual wholesaling. And hopefully we can talk about those three subjects: wholesaling, virtual wholesaling, and then wholesaling on the island of Puerto Rico, right? So those are kind of the three big topics, I think, if that lines up with what you were thinking.
Sure. We can
Okay.
we can talk about any of that stuff. That'll be great. Virtual wholesaling has literally given me wings, and it gives me the ability to live anywhere and do this anywhere. My mom owned a real estate company when I was growing up, and it was in Griffin, Georgia, a little small town in South Atlanta. And my mom's actually here with me in Puerto Rico this month. She comes down once a month to see me, so I still get to see her. I'm really, really love her a lot. And but she had that business for 30 years, guys, and she was in that office 6 and 7 days a week working on deals in Griffin, Georgia, and around Griffin, Georgia. We just have such a unique opportunity, I think, in the world that we live in today. That, I mean, look at us right now. We're on a call. I mean, there's probably people all over the country, all over the world that could be on this call even right now. And that's just incredible that we have such connectivity, such ability to move and to travel and to do these things. So with that kind of being my intro, I want to talk to you guys about how to set up a wholesale business. So I wrote some notes here just in case I forget how to wholesale. Um, I would say I would say kind of the most important thing um, in setting up a wholesaling business is to choose your market. Now, we started in Atlanta, Georgia, and when you start in business, you start getting all this advice from other people, and they tell you you need to expand and you need to grow your business, and we did that way too soon. We moved out of just the Metro Atlanta area, and we opened up an office in a place called Augusta, Georgia. If you've ever heard of the Masters, the golf course, that's where that's at. And thought, okay, we're going to go out there. And what I found is if you do things badly in one market, you'll do things badly in multiple markets too. So that's what we did. We made a lot of mistakes in both those markets. And then even worse than that, I was told, what you need to really do, Jason, is you need to go nationwide. You need to wholesale nationwide. And it sounds like such a fantastic idea, doesn't it? But the problem is there's so much nuance in every market that it's very hard to actually do that and do it effectively. What we ended up getting, we got a lot of contracts. We didn't have a problem getting contracts, but they ended up being in the middle of nowhere. It's very hard to find people that wanted to buy them. So when you're thinking about your market, I want you to think about a market that has a lot of activity. You know, Maybe you guys own some rental property. Maybe you've done fix and flips. And I would like to just kind of throw this out there. This is kind of an outlandish thing to say, but I think real estate wholesaling, it's not really real estate investing. Okay. And let me explain what I mean. In our process, we acquire contracts, we vet those contracts out with the transactional process. That's doing inspections, running title, closing the deals, and we dispo contracts. Notice that I didn't say we dispo houses. I never go to the houses. The only person on my team that goes to the house is a home inspector.
So you're
So
just
and
selling your contract then. You're
that's all I'm doing. Literally, it's a sales organization that has a widget, and that widget is a house. That's
right.
it. So, like, if you can just get out of your head, like the idea that I'm moving, I'm selling houses, I'm an investor. Like, you can be an investor, that's fine, you can do that, but that's not what this is about. This is about figuring out how you can make those three things happen as quickly as possible. How quickly can I acquire contracts, vet those contracts out through the transactional process, and then get rid of those contracts?
Right.
All we're doing is making an arbitrage between two markets. That's all we're doing in this business. And so get all that like kind of head junk out of your head, and that'll really help you. So with that being said, choosing your market. Do you want to be in a market that those things happen slowly, that you only have a handful of people that are selling at a discount, that you only have a handful of people that are buying? Or would you like to be in one that has a lot of velocity, that's moving very quickly? Well, I think it's pretty
Hmm.
obvious, right? You want
Hmm.
to be where things are moving. So you don't want to pick a little small town to do wholesaling in. Pick a city, pick a big area. But the other thing is, I don't want you to pick a state. Okay. Now, our company now covers the state of Georgia, but it's taken us like years to figure that out. Okay. If I were to start again today, I would start with just the Atlanta metro area, just the cities right around Atlanta. Um, and there's so many metro areas in the United States. I mean, you pick the one that you like the best, that you have the most information on, that you know the most about. But pick an area where there's a lot of velocity of deals happening. That'd be kind of the first piece of advice I would have for you. Stay away from these slow moving markets. There's not a lot of sellers, not a lot of buyers. You're going to make your life a lot harder out there.
So how do you identify
Yeah.
what's a slow market and what's a fast market?
Well, you definitely want to be in cities that are above, I would say 300,000 is a good number. Like my hometown has 75,000 people in it, and we do some deals down there. But like, I know most of the people down there now. There's like a handful of them, right? But you go just up the road 20 minutes to like Jonesboro, that kind of area, Clayton County, you got 500,000 people in Clayton County. Okay. So there's like 5 or 6x the velocity of deals that are happening there. So yeah, I would start with a minimum of 300,000.
Okay. And so if you're in Puerto Rico, that's the San Juan metro area. Really, that's where you need to be doing this. That's where we found the velocity of buyers and sellers. And maybe it's not even 300,000 people. San Juan, I don't think is that big. It's borderline that big.
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah. But yeah, everything happens a little slower in Puerto Rico. The first wholesale house that I did down here, we actually closed on it and resold it. So I guess it was more of a what we call wholesale. We didn't renovate it. And it took the guy like 8 months to get the loan. Okay. So, it killed all the profit and momentum that we had in it. So it was a little bit further out. It was in a little bit of a less desirable area. What you're wanting is velocity, and you want to be in an area that people are doing things. Once we choose our market, and I'm just saying, like, if I was going to start this over today, like how would I create what I have? I think next thing you need to choose some tools, and you're going to need some things for your business. You don't have to spend a lot of money on these things. I think it's a big mistake to jump out there, start getting these very expensive subscriptions to things. We literally started, we use Salesforce now. We pay a lot of money for it, and it's great. But we literally started with a spreadsheet, and it was like Google Sheets, which is free. We would put our leads on there. We would put the status that they're in, when the last time we talked to them, put some notes on there. Like, you don't have to pay a lot of money for that stuff. Eventually, yeah, it'd be great to have some automation, to have some things in there and have Salesforce and have the power of that. But you don't need that in the beginning. You also need a place to store data. For many years, we actually used Dropbox. Just about 2 weeks ago, we actually converted over to something called Google Workspace, which is covering a bunch of different things for us, and it's going to be a lot cheaper. But Google Workspace, even the paid version, it's like $12 a month. Okay. With Google Drive, you're not, I mean, you'll probably be okay for the first year or two, not paying anything, just using a free account. But you need a place to like store photos, store documents, your contracts, things like that. And what we would do is we just create a folder for each property that we have a transaction on, that we're working on. We would store our contracts in there, store photos of the property. We do a Matterport of every property. So that's like a 3D camera. And you don't have to do that in the beginning, but that's just kind of something we added on. And we have to have a place to store all that stuff. So you want a place to have some data storage. You want a CRM or some type of place to store your leads so that you know what you're working on. And we use, like I said, we use a spreadsheet at first. Next thing, we got to start figuring out how we're going to get in front of sellers, right? How are we going to actually talk to these people that are in a painful situation? And that's choose your lead source. Okay. There's lots of different lead sources. When it comes to like a company like Homevestors, they would tell you that their top producing lead source is mail. They do millions of pieces of mail all over the United States every single month. Their second most popular, and I'm using them just because they have more data, right? They know what works. The second most popular is PPC, which is Google pay-per-click. Most people probably don't know how to do Google pay-per-click. I didn't know how to do it for many years. I was actually very scared of doing it. And I hired agencies and things like that. And that's okay when you first get started. But I'll tell you, you can take a class, you can learn things on YouTube for free, and you can learn enough to start a Google PPC campaign that it's not going to cost you a ton of money to learn. And if I'll tell you this, agencies are fine for that kind of stuff, but no agency is ever going to care about it like you will. Okay. Um, another way to do it is pay per lead. Okay. So instead of pay per click, you can actually go to companies that actually sell you the lead directly. So the lead comes in and you buy that lead. Okay. There's also cold calling. So if you get you get a list of people, you can cold call. There's also texting. There is some legal, things to jump through when it comes to cold calling and texting. But look, it's like, there's so much stuff. Okay. Here's what I want you to remember out of this section. Pick one. Okay. Years ago, I went to this mastermind group called Collective Genius. And at Collective Genius, there's like all these people. I was in the group where we bought 150 houses or more per year. So you're talking about like the top guys in the nation that do this. And in there, you've got people who are amazing at all these different lead sources. They've got 6 or 7 of them, whatever. And I remember I was really struggling because at that time we had left Homevestors and we were trying to figure out what lead sources to use. And at Homevestors, you don't pick the lead source. You just put in the money and they figure it out for you, right? So when I left, I had to figure out what I'm going to do. So I was like, well, at Homevestors, we had like 5 lead sources. So I'm just going to get those same 5 and try to replicate it. That's a mistake. Okay. What you want to do is pick one lead source: mail, pay-per-click, pay-per-lead, cold calling, texting. Pick one and then learn everything you can possibly learn about it. Because what happened with me was I was trying to do 5. I was trying to learn all 5 simultaneously. And you know what ended up happening? I ended up sucking at all 5. That's what happened. Okay. I was very mediocre at all 5. I wasn't good at any of them. And I went out to Collective Genius and I'm like, man, cold calling just totally doesn't work. And then there's like a guy making $500,000 a month doing cold calling. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'm like, well, yeah, that texting thing, that definitely doesn't work. I tried that. And then there's a guy over here making like 300 grand doing texting. And the same for every lead source. Because what they had done is not focused on learning like a bunch of things at once. Don't go into like overwhelm mode. Pick one of these things and just learn it inside and out. Learn every little nuance to it. Because I'm going to tell you, if you just do it mediocre, you're going to get very mediocre results. Probably less than mediocre. Okay. That would be my advice on that. Find these leads. Now think about this. You're paying money for leads. This goes back to your phone system thing, right? What happens when one of these leads comes in? What are we going to do? It's a seller. All right. We got to create and choose a sales process. That's the next step. So we've chosen a market, we've chosen some tools, talked about lead sources, and now we're going to choose and create a sales process. And when I started with Homevestors, there's a company that they partner with called Sandler. And I'll tell you guys, I had 0 sales experience. That's not true. I sold cars for like a month when I was 18. Okay, but that was it. I started this business 7 years ago, so I'm a little bit older than 18 now. So a long time ago, I sold cars for like 1 month. I think I sold 2 cars. I wasn't very good at it. But my first month in Homevestors, I bought 8 houses. Okay. And the way I did that was I plugged into their sales system. There's a bunch of sales systems out there for this business. There's things like Sandler. There's one, John Martinez. It's actually owned by a guy named Jerry Green now. He's a good friend of mine, and he taught our people for about 2 years. Those are programs that you can buy into. But guys, there's this amazing thing. It's called YouTube, right? It's called being in groups like Robbie's, being in school groups, being in things like this. You're already there. Find a group where people are talking about the sales process for buying and wholesaling houses. You need to learn how to talk to a seller. And I'm going to tell you, if you go at it from a normal sales perspective, which is kind of like, you remember the old thing they say, like ABC, always be closing. Yeah. See, we don't watch that channel. We watch NBC. Well, what is NBC? It's never be closing. Okay. Robbie, Mr. Seller, you've told me a little bit about the house. We've kind of gotten to know each other. I appreciate you you going through that with me, and you've told me about some of your problems and the things that are happening. And gosh, you know, I can't even imagine how that would feel. What do you think we should do at this point? So I'm never closing them. I'm not never like throwing up on them and giving them an offer and hoping they'll sign and pushy. If anything, I'm always pulling back. You know, think about it. In this scenario, are you really truly a salesman or are you a buyer?
You're a buyer. You're a buyer.
Right? So even if you don't, this is what I tell my salespeople all the time. I say, even if you don't, imagine you've got $1 million in your back pocket and you've got the whole world that you can buy investment property. This person needs to sell me, right? I don't know. What do you think we should do next? What would you like for me to do next?
Buy my house, Jason. Would you buy my house?
Well, as I told you in the beginning of this, Robbie, we're not a fit for 97% of the people in the market. And, you know, to be honest with you, I'm not 100% this is the right thing for you. Are you sure that you'd like for me to make you an offer?
I just got to be out of here next Tuesday.
Gosh, I can't even imagine how that would feel, Robbie. And you know, I'll do what I can for you, but just understand that this isn't going to be a retail offer. And I know that that's what you need to get because you told me about X, X, and X. I can do this offer and I can write it up, but just all I ask is that you just promise that you won't be angry with me.
Okay.
I do have one other favor to ask you, Robbie, if you don't mind. Would it be possible just that we could just kind of commit to each other right now? Because I know, look, people in Florida are really nice and they're always so polite. Can we just commit to each other that when I do give you the offer, if there's any part of it that you don't like, whether it's a number or me or my company or whatever, can we just commit now that we won't tell each other maybe, or that I'll call you in a week, that you'll just look at me straight and just give me a good solid no?
I can do that.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me that you'd say that. So you see how I'm always pulling back? I'm never that aggressive. Like, you know, I hate to say it because car salesmen are pretty cool. I like car salesmen, but like, you know, let's buy this. Let's buy this. You know, it's always pulling back. You're always saying, I'm not so sure. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, convince me, Mr. Seller, convince me.
Guys, if you like that, I told you would. We've got a library of content just like this. It's actually long content, so we've got fix and flip courses. We've got a whole library full of these master classes. Each one is better than the last. Come and join us on Apex. If you want to become part of a dynamic community of real estate investors, if you've been looking for a way that you can get out of the rat race and maybe become a real estate investor and change the stars of your life, let's do this together, guys. Real estate investing is a team sport, and we want you to be part of our team. Join us on Apex.